A very good morning to one and all. Okay, today we'll discuss regarding the morphology of cell injury. Clear? And this morphology of cell injury, specifically in case of the reversible cell injury, we are going to discuss here. Okay, regarding the reversible cell injury. Clear? See, that means you are having morphological features, mainly four different types of morphological features you are going to be observed regarding this reversible cell injury. Okay, what you will see, what are the different changes? The first one is hydropic change. Okay, hydropic change. The next one is hyaline change. Next, mucoid change. Next one is fatty change. Okay, these are the four different morphological features you are going to be observed in case of the reversible cell injury. Okay, see, one by one we are going to be discussing regarding this, what are these changes that are going to be taking place during the reversible cell injury. Okay, first we'll see what is meant by that hydropic change. Okay, we'll see what is this hydropic change. Okay, if you see this, what is meant by this hydropic change? Okay, that is accumulation of water within the cytoplasm. Okay, what is this? Accumulation of water in case of cytoplasm of the cell. Okay, that you will call it as a hydropic change. Okay, what is this hydropic change? That is accumulation of water in the cytoplasm of a cell. You will call it as a hydropic change. See, what are the main causes for this hydropic change? If you see that is in case of, okay, bacterial toxins. Suppose if there is any bacterial toxins inside our body, you are going to be observe this hydropic change. And next one is because of chemicals, and next because of poisons. If there is any poison inside our body, and because of burns, and also in case of very high fever. Okay, these are all the main causes for this hydropic change. Okay, that is bacterial toxins, chemicals, poisons, burns, as well as because of high fever. Okay, next we'll see the pathogenesis. Okay, we'll see next regarding the pathogenesis. That means how this hydropic change is going to be occur. Okay, this is the most common morphological feature you are going to be observed regarding this, okay, reversible cell injury. See here what happens. See, because of all these causes, clear, results in impaired regulation of ions. Okay, which will be leading to impaired regulation of sodium and potassium ions in case of the cell membrane. Clear? See, are you getting? See, because of all these causes, what happens? There will be a impaired regulation of sodium and potassium ions in the cell membrane. See, because of that, which will be leading to the accumulation of sodium ions, okay, within the cell. See, once the sodium ions are accumulated inside the cell, what happens, which will be leading to the rapid flow of water inside the cell to maintain the isoosmotic conditions. See, once if the water enters inside the cell, which will be leading to the swelling. Clear? The swelling of the cell you are going to be observed, that you will call it as hydropic change. Is it clear? So because of all these causes, there will be, that is impaired regulation of ions within the cell membrane, so that what happens, whatever the ions that will be present inside the cell, those are unable to move out of the cell, so that will be leading to the accumulation of the sodium ions, which is followed by the rapid flow of water inside the cell, finally leads to the swelling. Okay, this you will call it as a that is pathogenesis. And next we'll see this reversible change. Okay, mainly this hydropic change, you will call it as a reversible change. Why you will call it as a reversible change? Because upon removal of this, okay, that is injurious agent, okay, we had seen the different causes, right? Suppose if we are removing those type of injurious agents, then what happens? The cell is going to be recovered to a normal state. Okay, next we'll see what are some morphological features. Okay, suppose if there is any hydropic change, what are the features, that is main morphological features you are going to be observed. Okay, first one is some organs. Okay, like if you see kidneys, okay, liver, pancreas, or the heart muscles, okay, you're going to be observed, that is enlargement. Okay, that is enlargement of these organs you are going to be observed. Clear? Suppose if there is an enlargement of the kidney, liver, or the pancreas, definitely which is mainly because of the hydropic change. Clear? See, and next one is, because of that what happens, there will be microvasculature is compressed. Okay, next what you are going to be observed, that is microvasculature is compressed. See, why you will call it as microvasculature is compressed? Clear? Suppose if you see there are different, okay, these are all the cells. Clear? See, in between what happens, there will be a vasculature. Is it clear? The blood vessels, blood supply will be present in between the cells. Clear? See, as there is a swelling of the cell, because of the swelling of the cells, what happens here, whatever the blood vessels that will be present, that is undergoing compression. Clear? That you will call it as microvasculature is undergoing compression. And next one is small clear vacuoles are going to be developed. Clear? Very small clear vacuoles are seen inside the cell. And next one is cytoplasmic blebs. Clear? Cytoplasmic blebs are going to be observed. Suppose if it is a cell, inside the cell you are having the cytoplasm. Blebs means like a small bulges. Okay, like this bulges you are going to be observed. Okay, this you will call it as cytoplasmic blebs. And next one is the nucleus is very pale. Okay, the nucleus is very pale. Okay, so this all regarding the hydropic change. Is it clear? So these are some morphological features because of this hydropic change in case of the reversible cell injury. Okay, next we'll see regarding hyaline change. Okay, next one is hyaline change. Okay, if you see this hyaline, the meaning of hyaline is glassy. Clear? Hyaline means which is glassy in appearance. Okay, hyaline. See, hydropic means what? Hydro means water. Because of water, there is a swelling. Okay, previously we had seen. Hyaline change means here the cells appears like a glassy. Clear? See, when the cells is going to be appears glassy, see, whenever the cells, if you are staining mainly with some dyes, okay, like hematoxylin, okay, hemato xylene stains or eosin stains. Okay, if you are staining the cells with the help of some dyes, okay, like hematoxylin or eosin, then the cells will be appears like a glassy appearance. Okay, mainly this you are going to be observed during the pathological conditions. Clear? This hyaline change you are going to be observed in case of the pathological conditions, and it may be intracellular hyaline change. Okay, it is exist in two forms. It may be intracellular hyaline change or it may be a extracellular cellular hyaline change. Okay, hyaline change means, you remember, which is a glassy appearance whenever you are going to be staining the cells with the help of some particular dyes like hematoxylin or the eosin stains. Clear? See, it exists in two forms, mainly that is intracellular hyaline change as well as the extracellular hyaline change. Okay, we'll see what is this intracellular hyaline change and what is that extracellular hyaline change. First we'll see intracellular hyaline change. Okay, if you see this intracellular hyaline change, mainly you are going to be seen in case of epithelial cells. Okay, this type of change you are going to be observed in case of the epithelial cells. Okay, not in other types of cells, only in case of the epithelial cells. Okay, and we'll see some examples regarding this okay, intracellular hyaline change. Okay, examples like hyaline droplets. Okay, what is this hyaline droplet? See, that means, I told you hyaline means like a glassy appearance. This will be appears like a droplets. Clear? See, where you are going to be observe these type of droplets. See, regarding in case of proximal tubular epithelial cells. Okay, proximal tubular epithelial cells. Okay, these type of cells will be appearing like a hyaline droplets if there is any problem in these type of cells. Okay, mainly this you are going to be observed in case of excessive reabsorption of plasma proteins. If there is any excessive reabsorption, okay, of plasma proteins. Clear? Here in case of proximal tubular epithelial cells, if it is okay absorbing, reabsorbing excessive amount of plasma proteins, then you are going to be observe these type of hyaline droplets. Okay, next one is hyaline degeneration of rectus abdominis muscle. Next example is hyaline degeneration of rectus abdominis muscle. Okay, this you will also call it as Jenker's degeneration. This you will also call it as Jenker's degeneration. Mainly this you are going to be observed in case of the typhoid fever. Clear? See, in case of typhoid fever, if they are going for any blood test, okay, and they are staining with that particular dyes, if there is any hyaline change, clear, indicates the typhoid fever. And next one is Russell's bodies. Next example is okay, Russell's bodies. Okay, this Russell's bodies means there will be an excessive immunoglobulins, where in case of rough endoplasmic reticulum of plasma cells. Clear? See, this also if they are going for any blood tests. Clear? See, in that cells the rough endoplasmic reticulum, if it is having excessive immunoglobulins, okay, which will be existing like a bodies, okay, that you will call it as a Russell's bodies. Okay, so this all regarding the intracellular hyaline change. This change you are going to be observed only in case of the epithelial cells. Okay, and next we'll see the extracellular hyaline change. What is meant by that extracellular hyaline change? Okay, extracellular hyaline change. Okay, and if you see this extracellular hyaline change, this is observed in case of the connective tissue. Clear? Previous intracellularly I told you that is observed in case of epithelial cells, and this extracellular hyaline change you are going to be observed in case of the connective tissue. Okay, we'll see some examples regarding this, that is hyaline arteriosclerosis. Okay, that is hyaline arteriosclerosis. See, that means in renal blood vessels. Okay, this you are going to be observed in case of renal blood vessels in case of hypertension and diabetes mellitus. Okay, in these two conditions, if you observe the renal blood vessels, there will be a renal arteriosclerosis. Okay, and next one is you are going to be observe hyalinized or hyaline glomerulus. See, when you are going to be observe this hyaline glomerulus in case of chronic glomerulonephritis. Okay, high chronic glomerulonephritis. See, that means if you see during the disease conditions, I told you this hyaline change you are going to be observed during the pathological condition. Clear? See, that means during hyaline arteriosclerosis and hyaline glomerulus. Okay, see this you are going to be observed during hypertension, diabetes mellitus, as well as during the chronic glomerulonephritis. Okay, so this is regarding the second change. You will call it as hyaline change. See, hyaline means you remember, which is a glassy appearance. Clear? And the third one is mucoid change. Okay, third one is mucoid change. And if you see this mucoid, see mucoid means if you see here you are having two things you have to remember. First one is the mucus. See, that is if you see from mucus glands, you know, regarding this mucus glands, mainly this mucus glands is going to be secreting the mucus. Clear? Say this mucus, which is a combination of proteins plus which is a mucopolysaccharides. Clear? If you remember this term, that is mucus. Clear? See, mucus means which is a combination of proteins and mucopolysaccharides that are going to be produced from the mucus glands. Okay, and another you will call it as a mucin. Okay, mainly if you see this mucin, which is only a protein, okay, that is a glycoprotein. Clear? See, and this mucin is going to be produced from epithelial cells of the mucous membrane, and this can also be produced from the mucus glands. Okay, and this can also be produced from some connective tissue. Clear? See, clear? If the mucin produced from the connective tissue, you will call it as a myxoid. Okay, you remember this terminology also when you will call it as a myxoid. Okay, myxoid means whenever the mucin secreted from the connective tissue, that you will call it as a myxoid. Okay, you remember these two terms, mucus and mucin. There is a difference between the mucus and the mucin. Okay, mucus means which is a combination of proteins and mucopolysaccharides, but mucin which is only a glycoprotein. Okay, and production also different. Mucus is produced only from the mucus glands, but mucin, if you see, which will be produced from the epithelial cells, mucus glands, as well as from the connective tissue. Clear? See, whatever it may be, either the mucus or the mucin. Okay, both things are going to be stained with one dye. You will call it as Alcian dye. Okay, you remember? See this Alcian blue dye. Both mucus as well as the mucin are going to be stained with Alcian blue dye. Okay, and if you see the epithelial mucin, only mucin I am discussing, that is epithelial mucin. If you observe, so this is going to be stained positive with periodic acid Schiff. Okay, this is also one dye. You will call it as periodic acid Schiff. Okay, that means you will call it as PAS. Okay, this epithelial mucin is stained positive with periodic acid Schiff. But if you see the connective mucin, okay, this connective mucin is negative with PAS, but it is positive with colloidal iron. Okay, so this is regarding the staining, okay, of this mucin. Okay, if you see both mucus and mucin are going to be stained with the help of Alcian blue. And suppose specifically they want to go for the mucin, means epithelial mucin is stain positive with periodic acid Schiff dye, and connective mucin which is negative with PAS but it is positive with colloidal iron. Okay, next we'll see. Okay, we'll discuss regarding this epithelial mucin and the connective tissue mucin. First, we'll see regarding the epithelial mucin. Okay, if you see this epithelial mucin, okay, we'll see some examples where you are going to be observe these type of epithelial mucin. See, you are going to be so these examples like catarrhal inflammation of mucous membrane. Okay, suppose okay this type of inflammation in case of the mucous membrane. Okay, if there is any inflammation in the mucous membrane, specifically in case of the respiratory tract, next one is alimentary tract, and in case of the uterus. Okay, see that you will call it as a epithelial mucin. Clear? See, in case of catarrhal inflammation in case of the mucous membranes, specifically in case of that is respiratory tract, alimentary tract, and the uterus. Okay, and next one is if there is any obstructions, okay, in case of ducts. Clear? If there is any obstructions in the ducts, see whatever the mucus that is going to be produced, sorry, mucin, that you will call it as a mucosilae. Okay, mucosilae. Okay, this mucosilae mainly in case of oral cavity and gallbladder. Okay, this mainly in case of oral cavity and gallbladder. Clear? See, that means in these cases if there is any obstruction in the ducts, okay, that you will call it as mucosilae. Okay, mainly in case of the oral cavity and gallbladders. Clear? And next one is you are having cystic fibrosis. Okay, cystic fibrosis of the pancreas. Clear? See, in case of pancreas also, if there is any fibrosis, that means we are having the cystic ducts. Clear? See, that ducts will become fibrosis, means will become very hard. Clear? See, there you are going to be secreting some mucin. Okay? See, that is also one of the example from the epithelial mucin. And next one is mucin also secreting some tumors. Okay, that is mucin secreting tumors. See how you know that this is a mucin secreting tumors. Suppose if you are taking some cells, okay, from that tumors, and if you are staining with that particular dyes, clear? See, then what happens? You can understand. Okay, this tumors will be produced from that kind of mucin. Clear? See what type of tumors in which areas. So that is in case of ovaries, and in case of stomach, and in case of large bowel, that is in case of the large intestine. Clear? So these are the examples regarding the epithelial mucin. Clear? And next we will discuss regarding the connective tissue mucin. See, mucoid change means that is secretions of mucus and mucin. Clear? Connective tissue mucin means if you see the examples like myxoid degeneration. Clear? See, I already told you what is meant by this myxoid. Clear? Myxoid means the mucin secreted from the connective tissue. You will call it as a myxoid. Okay, this you are going to be observed in case of tumors. Clear? See, in which that tumors you will call it as myxomas. Okay, myxomas, neurofibromas. Okay, and next one in case of fibroedema. fibroadenoma. Clear? See, and next one is myxomatous change in the dermis. Okay, myxomatous change in case of dermis. Clear? That is mainly in case of myxoedema. See, if there is any swelling in the skin, see then what happens? They will take some cells and they will go for the staining. Okay, in the staining, if they are going to be observing, okay, suppose they are getting positive, definitely there will be a cell injury. The next one is myxoid change in synovium. Next one is myxoid change in, okay, synovium. Okay, synovium means where you are going to be observed in ganglion on the wrist, mainly in case of ganglion in the wrist. Okay, these are some examples regarding the connective tissue mucin. Is it clear? That is myxoid degeneration. You are going to be observed in case of the tumors. And next one is myxomatous change in case of the dermis. Okay, mainly in case of the skin and in case of wrist ganglion also you are going to be observed this type of change. Okay, so this he will call it as the mucoid change. Okay, that's all, students, regarding the three different types of hyaline change. Okay, and the next last one you will call it as a fatty change. Okay, that fatty change, okay, we'll discuss in detail in the next class.